Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. Where in today's video I am going to be making a nice rich homemade chicken soup. So if you've seen the last video, I've roasted a chicken, baked the chicken, braised the chicken, whatever you want to call it. We cooked the chicken, and as of now I got the meat, the carcass, as well as the juice or the gravy left behind. It's in the fridge the past couple of days, but finally we're ready to put it all together into a soup. So to begin, I'm going to be getting the carcass, the bones, leftover skin, all the things that we left out when we picked the meat from the chicken, and all that is going to be going into a pot, and it'll be going in with water. Now, most people may discard all these pieces and just be happy with that and say, you know what, it wasn't needed, we got rid of it. But there is a method behind the madness of using the bones and all those extra pieces to create more broth to add to what you already have. Now, basically, it kind of comes down to the properties of osmosis. Alright, and osmosis says things want to migrate from high concentration to areas of low concentration. So when we roasted that chicken, we made a basin of onion, oxo powder, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper, you name it. We created this bath of flavor. And so that created a high concentrated bath of flavor that wanted to migrate into areas of low concentration, being inside the meat of the chicken. So that's how we really infused flavor into the chicken, was through osmosis, and the flavors wanted going from high concentration to low concentration. So in that process though, we infused the bones, we infused the skin, we infused the cartilage, and as well the chicken was halfway out of the broth. So half of the chicken didn't really release any flavor down into the broth, but it also didn't really uptake flavor from the broth. So it's kind of just got cooked above the level, you know. So basically, doing this step now of boiling down the remains, we are going to just put in plain water, and that's a low concentration environment. We're putting in the bones and the skin, which still have the spices and infused flavor within them, as well as in the marrow. All this flavor is still locked up in these remains, and we want osmosis to kick in again and take it from the high concentration in the remains and bring it out into the water. So that includes calcium and different minerals and iron from the, the marrow, all that stuff. So that's the theory behind boiling down the bones and getting that final broth. Alright, so that's what I'm going to be doing first. I'm going to be getting about 1 liter or a quart of water, putting all the remains in there, and we'll boil it down for about an hour. So there you go. That's your opening spiel. Hopefully you'll join us for this recipe. I think if you make it yourself, you'll really enjoy it. Gives you a nice rich chicken soup, and in today's age with all the sickness and everything going around, it's definitely good to have a nice rich soup around to help heal you up. Alright, so with all that said, let's get going. Alright, so here's my bag of remains that I've taken out of the fridge, and I'm just going to get that put into the pot. And you can tell, like, it's hardened up now with some of the fats after solidifying and all that. So we'll just pop that right on in there. You can see the residue of the fats and flavors and everything that's still on those remains. Okay, I'll go get a liter of water. I got a 500 ml measuring cup, so I'll just fill this up twice and add that in there. Okay, so now that I got a liter of water added in with the remains, I'm just going to turn this on high, get this up to a boil, then I'll reduce it to low, cover it, and I'm going to let this simmer for about an hour. So I'll get back to you now once this comes to a boil, and just give you a little update there, and then we'll move on to a little bit more prep for the soup. So as you can see, we're getting into a boil here now, and we can start to separate the pieces out into the water. So as you can see, the color of the water is changing almost immediately. That's how much flavor was still locked up in these remains. Alright, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to reduce the heat down on low, and I'll put a lid on it. I'll let that simmer away for about an hour. I don't want it on too high a heat because I don't want my water to all evaporate away by the time I'm done. But by doing this now, that'll continue to release all that goodness and create another rich broth to add to what we already have. So now that we have the remains boiling and creating some more broth, I'll review with you now the other ingredients that I have on hand for when we go to put everything together into a soup. So, starting from left to right, I had some pearl barley. I do like barley in my soups. I got another 2 onions, macaroni noodles, a bag of carrots, which is 3 pounds of carrots. Have a full turnip. We call this a turnip here, but technically this is a rutabaga. We just call it a turnip here. And then I got 5 large russets, potatoes. On top of all that, I have, and I don't necessarily need to use all of them, but I got 6 liters of organic chicken broth. This came from Costco. And I'll be using this as an expander, but I'm going to be using it very carefully because this does not have the same rich taste that our homemade broth is going to have. So for that reason, the more of this you add, the way I describe it is more of a fake taste gets added in. So it's a real fine line of add and taste to make sure you don't cross over into it just tasting like a store-bought soup. You want to maintain that homemade taste, but also have enough volume that you can bottle this off and enjoy it at a later time and have enough to make all your effort worth it, really. Alright, and I got a strainer which I'll be straining this broth that we're making here now. And then I got my big, what's that, about 8 liters cook pot. Alright, and that's a double wall stainless cooking pot. Alright, so that's our ingredients right there that we're going to be using. And basically it's all going to come down to timing and volumes and stuff. But for now, we're going to get into the prep, which will be peeling and chopping all of our veg and pretty much have it all on standby, ready to go in. But the key to this soup, and the key to a really good soup, is your broth. Really concentrate on your broth. Think about what's going into your broth, how you're creating it, what you're extracting out into it. And like I say, just that theory of osmosis. You want to use your lower concentration water to draw those nutrients and tastes out of the cooked product. So that's about it. Let's get started. I'm just going to do some peeling and chopping. So I'll probably put you guys into a little fast forward with some music as I get these prepped and put into bowls and get them covered in water so they don't begin to brown or dry out. Alright, let's go. So one thing I always do is strain off my potatoes and get as much starch off of them as possible. Because they lead to starchy potatoes. Leaving it in ends up in a kind of a thickening effect, and also clouds up your soup a bit as well. So this is not a potato soup, this is a chicken soup. So we'll get these potatoes rinsed, and then we'll put them back in the bowl of water again, and they'll be ready to go when we need them. So other than the onion right now, all the veg is cut up and soaking in water, and we can soon strain off our new broth, and then we'll get to assembling the soup. Alright, so let's go ahead and check on our broth now. I'll get a little stirring ladle. Let's have a look. So that's been about an hour now of simmering, and it looks great. Nice, let's say, cloudy water, showing all the nutrients are into it. So I'm quite happy at this point. Everything is just falling away from these bones. Right, you're pretty much going to get everything you need out of that length of time. You can let it boil longer, but I find an hour is plenty. Alright, so we'll turn off the heat here, and follow me over to the sink, and we will strain this off. Alright, so I've got a bowl and a strainer set up in the sink, and now I'll just bring my broth over and we'll strain it down through. You can see the color of everything there now is pretty pale. The skin has gone back to a white. Anything taste-wise or anything is mainly removed from that now. So this here can be discarded into a compost pile or outside for the birds. For me, it'll probably be the latter. Let's flick it outside for the birds. But I will remove the killer bones from it before I do toss it out. Alright, so that is done. More broth, ready to go. So when we come back, we'll get to assembling the soup. Alright, so I got my cooking pot on the stove ready to go. This is the bag of chicken that we extracted from the baked chicken as well as chicken breasts. And I also have our previous broth that we made. And you can tell there is a layer of solidified fat on the top. I'm going to be keeping that in there. That's more nutrients. It's, you know, that's not going to hurt you too much unless you're reducing your fat intake. Feel free to skim that off, but I will be leaving it in for my soup. Alright, and other than that, we got our other broth still sitting in the sink from the bones that we just boiled. So one thing I'm going to do, when I put the chicken breasts in this bag, I never chopped them up or anything. So basically, I've just been massaging them through the bag just to break them up. And right, like you can see down here in the bottom, I just take that and I just knead away at it, and it just breaks the chicken apart. It's very tender chicken. So here's another breast here. And I'm just massaging that, breaking the chicken apart. And that should be pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to get this opened up and we'll add this into the pot. So as you can see here, one whole chicken, fully picked, and 4 chicken breasts. Gives lots of chicken for our soup. So that's great. Do one more bit of prep now, and that is to cut up an onion, put it in there, and then we'll start adding in our broth and get ready to go from there. Alright, so again, 2 onions. We'll get the skins off of those. And we'll get this chopped up the usual way that I do onions. You've seen it in the roast chicken video. And there we are. Just onion chopped. We'll get that in with the chicken, then we'll add our broths. And then we'll keep on going. Alright, so this is our initial broth or gravy that came off the roasted chicken. You can tell it's kind of gelatinous, it's very concentrated. Typically here when we cook a chicken, we would add thickening to this and serve it as a gravy. But this is jam-packed with taste and everything like that, so add that on in. Alright, and then I'm going to add in the bone broth that we just made. Perfect. Alright, so you can see we're probably up to a couple liters or more now of liquid already. So we're going to keep this richness going. Now we're going to start adding in our broth, store-bought broth. So we got lots of taste in there that this store-bought broth is not going to impact it. It'll just expand it. And I can easily do about 4 liters before I have any concerns on taste whatsoever. Other than the taste of a spoon going into. There we go. So that's 4 liters of store-bought broth in with our baked broth as well as our bone broth. And you can tell the chicken is already coming apart nicely. So at this point I'm going to put this up on high heat. I lose my spoon again. Put it up on high heat and get this boiling. There we are. So one thing you can do now while that comes up to a boil is just clean up your workstation. We're pretty much just going to be down to the veg from here on out, what needs to be added, as well as our barley and macaroni, and potentially some more of the broth. So one thing I wanted to point out was that this kind of recipe is a great way, if you got extra broth on hand and it's nearing expiry or best before date, like this one here is 2022 May 2nd, and I'm filming this on May the 8th, Mother's Day. So I'm 6 days over the best before date. By putting all this into a chicken soup recipe, I've just expanded the life of this broth another 2 years. Because by bottling this when it's done and pressure cooking it, pressure canning it, I should clarify, I'm going to have about 2 years of shelf life on this soup. So I just took something that was pretty much expired and gave it another 2 years of life. So, you know, think about those things. If you got some broth around in your pantry and it's nearing expiry, or other ingredients that you can utilize and then preserve them, you know, you can breathe new life into food and stretch your food that much further and your dollars. So, as well, I just wanted to point out, you know, I do have a recipe for a quick homemade chicken soup, but it is not as involved, and in my opinion it's not as nutritious and jam-packed of taste as this recipe is, because you've probably noticed there's a lot of steps to this. Now you could do it all in a day, no problem. I'm just doing it at my leisure when I can. But you know, getting that whole chicken in there and getting all of the nutrition out of those bones and everything goes a long way to making a rich soup and tasteful soup. And ideally, when you serve it, either to your family or friends or whoever, you'll probably get comments on what's in this that tastes so good. What's in this that makes it so different from other soups I've had. And the answer you tell them is there's love in it. That's what I tell my kids. I tell my wife, what's in it? What's in Daddy's cooking that's so yummy? I say, I put love in there. And that's all this process here, going the extra steps, thinking in your head about, you know, the transfer of nutrients and taste, and really getting that jam-packed punch into your food that's just going to boost your body's batteries with every bite. And I find the kids enjoy homemade meals more so than prepackaged, canned, you know, fast food. I find when I take the time and put the love into it, like I mentioned, the kids actually sit down and they're going back for seconds and thirds, and it really shows in their health and their appetite that when you put this effort in, you get a whole different result. And I'm a strong believer in put the time in. I'm putting the time in, but I'm going to bottle probably 14 or 15 bottles, right? So I'm putting all the effort in now, but that love is going to be bottled for another couple of years to come and help keep my family healthy and full of energy. And my boy actually has a cold today. You might have heard him cough on the video by now. You know, we're going into the third month, or the fifth month of 2022, and we've had COVID, we've had a cold, and it looks like the cold is making its rounds here again. So it's time for an energy boost and a nice healthy chicken soup to pick us up. Alright, so we'll get this boiling. I'm just going to go off to the side, do some dishes, clean up my workspace, and basically we'll be down to some easier things then. I'll just add a bit here and there, this and that. Basically comes down to timing at that point in time, and I'll discuss that further when we come back. Hope you're enjoying the video so far. I hope you're enjoying the recipe, and hopefully you're getting some nerve yourself to do this, because I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed. Alright, let's clean up and I'll be right back with you. So we're all cleaned up here now. Everything is laid out as I need it, and our broth with chicken and onion in it is at a boil, as you can see. So it's at this point in time that I need to taste the broth, because that's what's going to do the magic for everything from here on out. Right, I got to determine if I need to season it anymore, if it's too strong, no such thing as too strong, or if it's not strong enough, which is a very, very slim chance of it not being strong enough. And that's actually perfect. So at this point in time, I'm ready to add barley and the carrots and the turnip. All those have about a half hour to 45-minute cook time, so I'm putting those together at the same time. Now the barley, I'll probably do the whole package of barley. I think last time I did this soup I used about a half pack, and I kind of wish that I had more. So maybe I won't do the full pack, but I'll do 2/3. Right, and this was a 450 gram pack, so that's about 300 grams of barley I'll just put in there. And that's pearl barley. And next I'm going to go to the sink and I'm going to strain off my carrots and turnip just to get rid of the water, and then I'll add those in as well. Alright, so I'll go over and add these in now. So be careful not to splash and burn yourself too much here. There we go. So as I add the vegetables, that's where I'm going to decide if I have enough volume for what I want to bottle off. Because as of right now, the taste is great. Probably another liter of chicken broth would not hurt the taste here, but it is a fine line. You do reach that line out of the blue when you're doing this. So I get the lid back on this, and now we're in for about a half hour cook time and then we'll add in the macaroni and the potato. Alright, so we're about probably 15 minutes in on the carrot and turnip. So I'm just going to be testing it now to see. The thing is, potato can take about 15-20 minutes. So I want the last 15 or 20 minutes of turnip and carrot time to also be with potato, so that they're done at the same time. I don't want the carrot and turnip to be fully done when I put the potato in, or else they're going to end up overdone. So as of right now, I can get the fork through them. There's a little bit of firmness there. So I am happy enough with that to add to potato at this point in time. So I'm just going to filter that off camera, and then we'll get that added in. Just like so. Okay, easy as that. And as well, I'm going to add 2 cups of macaroni pasta. Now, the National Food Preservation Society or whatever, their guidelines say to never put pasta in, because the starch of the pasta can prevent the heat when you're bottling. It can prevent the heat from getting to the middle of the bottle. I haven't had any bad results. The biggest thing that I've had is just soggy noodles, but even when they're soggy, I prefer them in there. It's just my thing. So 2 cups of macaroni gone in. Like I said, when you're talking about 8 liters of soup, 2 cups of macaroni noodle is not going to occlude things enough that you got to worry about the heat reaching the middle of the bottle, in my opinion. Again, that's my opinion. Alright, so as of right now, everything we want is in the soup. Now, the liquid level, if anything, is only going to go down from here. We're pretty much at our 8-liter mark. We're up to the handle marks here, which is about 8 liters, so 16 bottles. My pressure canner holds 14, so anything beyond 14 we'll be eating today for supper or having as leftovers. So I'm only going to be doing 14 bottles. I'm going to do one run of the pressure canner. And there we are. So everything is in there and combined. Depending on the macaroni, if it soaks up some juice, or the potatoes, I don't think I'll mind adding 1 more liter of broth in here, but I don't think I'll do the full 6 that I have. I'll top out at 5 of added broth. Alright, let's get this back up to a boil, keeping a close eye on the tenderness of the vegetables. Because you got to keep in mind as well, when I pressure can this, it's going to be in the pressure canner for 60 minutes. So that's a full hour of cooking time. And hopefully my broth is potent enough that it's not going to be drying the potato apart and making it go to mush. But I do kind of want to have the vegetables a little bit firm so that they will survive the pressure canning process without all turning to mush. Alright, so we'll get this up to a boil and we'll go from there. So as you can see, the soup is back up to a boil again. Everything that we're going to be adding to this point is in there. So I'm comfortable moving this over to a smaller burner now to maintain, because I want to use my 2 side burners for my sterilizing hot water bath. Because as you can see, I have all my bottling jars here. I've got 14 of them. And I want to get those started so that when this is a nice fresh hot pack, I can get that in the bottles and get ready to get it in the pressure canner. And that's about it really. So I'll move this over, get the other burners going, and we will get to our hot bath. There we are. And it's back to boiling. So I'll go over now, I'll fill up my roaster that I'm going to be sterilizing my bottles with, and we'll come back and get that boiling as well. So I've done a full video on pressure canning, and I did a spaghetti sauce in the video, but this is going to be the exact same process. So I'll try to link that for you guys if you want to see the whole process of pressure canning. But I'm just kind of going ahead and doing it here now because, like I say, I've already made that video, so I can link you guys to it. I will show you the steps. I just probably won't be going into as much detail as I did in that video. And there we are. So that's 10 bottles, and my soup is spitting a little bit here, so I'll just loosen the cover there, and I'll get the heat going, and we'll get this boiling and sanitizing so the bottles will be ready when we are ready. And again, keeping a close eye on the soup, checking the tenderness of the potato, checking the barley, checking the carrot, checking the turnip. You really got to monitor it, make sure all the firmnesses and everything are there and you're not creating a pot of mush. And also make sure nothing's burning on. Okay, so I'm going to continue to monitor this, and we get further along, I'll bring you guys back again. Alright, so at this point in time, the potatoes getting soft, turnip and carrot are also getting soft. Not soft enough that I want in my soup that I'm going to eat for supper, but definitely soft enough for bottling purposes. Because again, they are going to cook for another 60 minutes, and I don't want too much of it to go to mush. Alright, so I'm going to begin the filling process now. Again, I did a video on this before, so I'm not going to be getting into big detail. I'm just going to try and get the job done and be efficient with it. But basically I'm getting a uniform texture throughout the whole pot, grabbing a ladle full and getting it into the bottle. Lots of chicken in this. Actually, at this point, I am going to add another liter of broth because it's almost like a stew instead of a soup. It'll give me a little more volume. Do a little bit of salt. Like I say, it's a fine line when you get to adding more broth. You start to lose that saltiness. But if you like it a little bit fresh, less salt, that'll be fine without adding the salt in for you, I'm sure. Alright, let's get this bottled. Alright, I went and got another 3 bottles on top of the 14 just because I got a lot of soup here and it's going quite well. So I figured I'd grab 3 more, maybe I'll fill 2 of them, maybe I'll fill all 3. But it's only going to be me and the kids having the soup. Maybe my wife will have some when she gets home from work tonight. Unfortunately, she's working Mother's Day. But anyways, I'm going to get these sterilized here now, fill up these 3. And then me and the kids are going to have some supper while I get the pressure washer, or not pressure washer, the pressure canner going as well. And again, made a video on it, just going to be doing it, getting it going, okay? We want to get to eating the soup. Alright, so just giving these a quick little scald in the water, and I'll get back to filling them now. Alright, so the timing of this all ended up with me having to bottle this first before showing you the final product. But the soup is done, it's cooked fully now at this point in time. So I'm going to plate up a bowl, show you how it turned out, and see how it tastes. And we'll see if I can encourage you guys to try this recipe yourself. So come on in, I'll take up a bowl, see what you think of it. Alright, so for the magic moment, let's get this out in a bowl. See the barley, see the macaroni, carrot, turnip, potato, and lots of chicken. There you are. I think this is a great success. There you are. Put some nice crackers on top of that, and you are talking a great meal. I'm just going to go ahead and do some pressure canning, get it started while we sit down to eat. Alright, so at this point in time, here is a bowl of yummy soup. So let's try it out, see how it came out. Delicious. Definitely. Awesome. Came out great. Yeah, I got no complaints there. It's nice and hearty, lots of chicken, good vegetables, macaroni's intact and nice and firm. Vegetables are perfect. So yeah, it all comes down to the fit and finish at the end, timing of everything, and just making sure you keep an eye on those veg and additions, so that it doesn't all turn to mush. Hopefully my pressure canning will turn out okay. Everything doesn't go crazy soft in there as well. But I'll find that out sometime when I open a bottle that I'm processing there now. I actually ended up with 17 bottles, plus a full bowl for myself, a bowl for each of the kids, and 2 bowls here for leftovers and maybe some more tonight. Alright, so I think great success. So I'll get the kids now. They want to see you guys off. I hope you enjoyed the recipe though, and hopefully you follow along. Probably have a little bit of outro footage of the pressure canning process, we'll see. But if not, we'll finish it off now with the kids. Alright folks, so kids, what'd you think of the soup?
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome. Alright, so we got kid approval. They picked out a few carrots and turnips, but you know, kids will be kids. But otherwise, hopefully it helps keep us healthy. It was delicious. I added a little bit of pepper in mine, nice little touch. Never needed any extra salt, and we also had some saltine crackers, which was delicious. So overall, the soup turned out great. Like I say, 1 chicken, 4 chicken breasts, and then the rest of the ingredients, 5 liters of chicken broth and vegetables, and you know, 2 bouts of making broth. And the pressure cooker is going, so 1 hour from now these will finish processing.
It scared me.
All right.
Because I wasn't expected to ding, but ding. Can this thing please shush? Alright, so pressure canner is active. 1 hour from now, those 14 bottles will be done.
Hopefully it doesn't all go to mush, but we'll give it one more spray.
Can this thing please shut his mouth?
Okay. Alright, so that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the recipe. Try it yourselves. Hope you really enjoy it. I think you should try it. And we made lots of it. So, till next time, next video. Hope you're happy. Hope you're healthy. Take care of each other.
And peace out.